She's already made history as she helped shape the future of justice in Palm Beach County. Today we sit down with a new Palm Beach County State Attorney after more than 6 months in her new job. Alexcia Cox will talk about her vision for the office, her law enforcement priorities, and what she sees ahead for justice in these difficult times. Let's go on the record.
From WPBF 25, this is On the Record with Todd McDermott.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. More than 6 months into her new role, Palm Beach County State Attorney Alexcia Cox is setting the tone for the future of justice in our community. Palm Beach County native's legal career spans almost 2 decades in that office, but now she is the boss. We welcome State Attorney Alexcia Cox to go on the record today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll tell you, even though it's been months ago, congratulations on winning the election.
Thank you.
All right, you've now made the transition from Deputy Chief Assistant Attorney to being the boss of the office. What's made the biggest impact, not on the office, but on you since you took over and now you're in that role after many years with the State Attorney's Office?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I'm truly honored and humbled to have the opportunity to go from being a member of the team to now having the incredible responsibility and honor of leading that team. We have done some amazing work over the past 6 months, and so to be able to lead that work has been truly amazing for me. I can tell you that being a native of Palm Beach County, being in my home community here in the office where I learned everything I know about being a prosecutor, it is made it even much more of an honor for me to now be the leader of that work. Not much has come as a surprise to me. I mean, as you stated, for almost 2 decades now, I have done the work and I know the work, what it means to hold criminals accountable, to stand up for victims. I would say the biggest change is just now being able to lead that work and to lead with impact, and I'm truly honored to have that opportunity.
I have to ask you, because there's so much to the role that you're in now as the top prosecutor, have you taken any time so far to reflect personally and professionally on what it means to be the State Attorney for Palm Beach County?
Yeah, you know, I have, and I want to take much more time to reflect on it, but you know, it's an honor to make history in my home community, in my hometown. And again, as I said, leading the work of the office that I've worked for my entire career. And so being able to sit back and reflect on that, I understand how big of a role this is, how big our community is, and the fact that, you know, they're counting on me and the people in my office to make sure that we do everything that we can to continue to make Palm Beach County a great and safe place, to build safer communities and neighborhoods for the people who live here, those who are moving here. And so, you know, while it's a big role, it's a 24/7 job, it's one that I embrace fully, and I could not be more proud to have the opportunity to do this work.
You mentioned your office has already prosecuted some very big cases. This past week we saw former high school teacher Damen Ki, who was convicted of having a sexual relationship with a 16-year-old student. Yeah. He actually did avoid one conviction on account of assisting in an attempted suicide, but your office won a sentence of 35 years for this man. What does it mean to convict a criminal of this type and to see a sentence like this? What does it mean for you and your prosecutors?
Well, it means the world to us because, you know, I'm so proud of the work by the 2 young women prosecutors in my office who are able to, through their diligent efforts, deliver justice for this young woman and her family. You know, when you see cases like this, you know, they're heartbreaking. They truly are heartbreaking. But we have to do the job, looking through the evidence, making sure that the charges are right, the evidence is there, making sure the law is on our side. And when we go before a jury and we leave that decision in their hands, we have to trust that they're going to make the right decision based on the information that we've given to them. And this jury, even though, as you mentioned, one of the counts, you know, we were not successful on, we trust that they made the decision that they felt was right, and we appreciate the judge handing down the sentence that he handed down, and we believe that justice was served in this matter.
What does it mean when you win a conviction for a crime against children, just in general?
Well, you know, children are some of the most vulnerable individuals in our community. You know, some may say the most vulnerable. So it's so important, so very important that we do everything that we can to root out predators and folks who prey on them, to get them out of our community and to hold them accountable. So this verdict was a big one. This sentence was a big one for us. And, you know, I appreciate and I'm so grateful for the hard work, the diligent efforts, the excellence with which prosecutors from my office were able to deliver justice.
Before you were Dave Ehrenberg's deputy chief, when he was state attorney, You specialize in domestic violence cases. How has the prosecution of those cases evolved as you've seen over the years? Where does it stand today?
Well, I can tell you we have broadened our domestic violence unit, adding some more resources to that unit because we want to make sure that at the end of the day, people who commit crimes of violence in intimate partner relationships, family relationships, they understand that in Palm Beach County they will be held accountable. That is work that I call heart work. It's very important. It's very difficult work because, not only are we dealing with a crime, but we're also dealing with all the elements that go along with the challenges that go along with dealing with domestic violence cases. And so I can tell you that the team that we have, the leaders and the prosecutors in that unit, they work day in and day out to make sure that we do everything that we can to hold domestic abusers accountable for their actions.
And we've been reporting just in the last few weeks on the danger to domestic violence victims when they come forward. That requires some special consideration for you and your prosecutors, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's so important to have well-trained prosecutors. So every time we have an opportunity to send them to get more training on how to combat those challenges that we face with domestic violence prosecutions, they take advantage of that. Sometimes we have to go on those cases without victims, and we do it when we can and when the evidence is there because we understand that it is a cycle of violence. And if we don't interrupt that cycle, then what we can see is what has played out in our community in other cases where, victims don't outlive the cycle. So we do everything that we can to show that those cases are important, show that, the victims in those cases, they have a voice, and make sure that we're standing up for them, whether or not, even if they don't want us to, we're going to make sure that we fight hard to get justice in those cases.
All right, we have so much more to talk about regarding your priorities and the future of the office. We'll be back with more from the state attorney in just a moment. Coming up, when On the Record returns, we'll talk about the biggest challenges still ahead for the state attorney.
You're watching On the Record on WPBF 25.
We continue our conversation with Palm Beach County State Attorney Alexcia Cox. And again, thank you for joining us today for this. I want to talk about public trust, if I could, because it's such an important issue in the times we live in, marked by doubts, conspiracy theories, questioning of authority. And we want to go back to a case that's in the news right now, the Jeffrey Epstein case. Obviously, nearly 20 years ago, the same office that you now run did obtain an indictment, a grand jury indictment of Jeffrey Epstein. It's well documented. He got a very easy deal, got out of jail, and clearly continued sex trafficking crimes before his arrest and death. Because of the attention on the case now, are you at all concerned about the reflection on prosecutors in general, not just on your office, in these times when there are so many questions about what happened to Jeffrey Epstein before and what happened after his arrest?
Well, I will say this, I know that public trust is something that you earn. It's something that you have to build. And it's really important to me and my executive team, the members of my office, to make sure that we are accountable and that we're transparent with the public. And so hopefully over these next years, they will see that this is an office that if they had issues with trust, those issues should not exist anymore. I mean, we've been out in the community, speaking to community, building that trust, building trust with law enforcement. And so I think that it's important for people to understand that we want to earn their trust. We don't expect them to just give it to us. We want to earn it by working hard and showing that we're an office that is built on the pillars of integrity, fairness, and excellence.
Do you sense any doubt in people you talk to about the veracity of cases? Because it's just there's just this atmosphere of questioning everything, perhaps not for all legitimate reasons, but it's part of the public discourse now.
Yeah, I don't. When I talk to people, just the way I'm sitting here speaking with you, Todd, this is the conversation that I have with members of the community, because I think that in order to create that trust, you have to have honest dialogue, and I've always been open to doing so. I think I ran my campaign in doing so, and so whether they believe it or not, they know that we're an office that will listen, will hear their concerns, and we will address them truthfully and with all of their needs being addressed.
You talked about expanding the domestic violence unit, which was obviously an important part of your career leading up to your ascension to state attorney. Are there specific policy initiatives that you've either put in place or plan to put in place to make changes in the office?
Yeah, we've done, I'm so proud. I'm just sitting here beaming with pride about my team and all of the important initiatives that we've been able to put in place just in these past 6 months. For example, it was very important that we address violent crime. We created our violent repeat offender unit. We've created a 10/20 life robbery unit to make sure that people who commit robberies and they use a weapon, they are given the full weight of the law in terms of their sentence. In addition to that, we created, because when I campaigned and when I first took office, I pledged that I would make sure that elder crimes are a top priority. People who exploit or commit any crimes against seniors in our community would be held accountable. And so we created an elder crimes unit. And what we've been doing is nothing short of amazing in terms of working with law enforcement and community stakeholders to not just prosecute the cases, but also educate the public, our seniors living in our community, work with law enforcement to find solutions for recovering funds that have been taken from them. And so it's been a big joint effort between our office and many others, and I'm truly grateful that we've been able to deliver on that promise.
Anybody who wants to criticize a prosecutor or a state attorney's office will talk about, they'll use the term soft on crime. That's just it's a part of everyday life. How do you view diversion or alternative to prison time for convicted offenders? What's your view of it now?
Well, it depends on the crime. Our job is really clear. It's to seek justice, right? It's to enforce the law. It's to hold offenders accountable. And accountability might look different depending on the facts, the evidence, the law. And so what we do is we try to get it right. I was often asked about tough on crime, and I believe I'm very tough on crime, but I'm also fair. I'm also focused on being right on crime, because I want to make sure that we get it right for the benefit of our community, but also that we're fair and that we do the job that the community has asked us to do, and that's to make sure that Palm Beach County remains a safe place for us all to live.
Well, this is one place you can do it, but are there other messages that you would like the public to know about your work that maybe you just are not getting the opportunity to talk about? Is there something that you'd like them to know?
Well, I'd like them to know that we're a team of 115 prosecutors, 180 professional staff, and these individuals get up each and every day, come into the office, do the work of justice, seeking justice. And it's a tough job. It's a very big responsibility. They don't do it for title and for money. We do it because we're passionate about the work that we do, and we love this community. And so I hope that, as the community watches this show and they learn more about what we're doing, because we're now out in the community more. We are creating a newsletter. We've rebranded our website because we want to make sure that the community engages with us regularly. I hope that they will take time to get to understand what it is that we do, why our role is so critical to the success of Palm Beach County community as a whole. And I hope that they will ask the questions that they need to ask, get the answers and the information that they need, and understand that we are doing a great job in Palm Beach County. And I am so very proud and grateful to be leading the work and leading the individuals in the state attorney's office.
All right, now coming up next, we'll talk more about what the future holds, what you would like to see in your role, because again, it's only been 7 months. More with State Attorney Alexcia Cox when we return. Welcome back. We're talking today with Palm Beach County State Attorney Alexcia Cox, now on the job since January after her election in November. Are the types of crimes you're fighting as a prosecutor changing at all or evolving over time since you got in this business as a prosecutor?
Well, I can say that 20 years ago, I may not have seen as much technology used in the commission of crimes. And so we're seeing that, whether we're talking about property deed fraud or credit card fraud or any types of fraud that you can think of. There's a lot of technology behind it these days, cyber crimes. And so we're seeing that more and more. And it's important that we sharpen our tools, the tools in our toolkit, to be able to fight against that and to be able to prosecute those cases. And that's exactly what we're doing.
We put a lot of alerts out coming from your office about crimes that people need to be aware of, especially these cyber crimes, technology crimes. Does the public come to you, and should they know they can come to you about this when they become victimized?
Absolutely, especially if there are crimes. I think there was a scam regarding jury service, text messages that were going out. If anyone ever receives that type of information, they should absolutely reach out to law enforcement, reach out to our office just to see if there's something that we can share with them to let them know not to call those numbers, not to send those emails back, because we have a duty to protect the public, and we're more than happy to do that.
You mentioned law enforcement. I want to talk about your relationships with your office to improve protection of the public. Is the relationship with law enforcement changing at all? Is that working today?
Yeah, you know, I'm very, very happy to say that our relationship with law enforcement is best it's ever been. You know, we have been working side by side with our law enforcement community to create solutions, build better case outcomes, to build better investigations, to make sure they have the training that they need on the law. And that way they're able to give us better, more prosecutable cases. We're able to file more cases because we're collaborating more and we're talking through some of the issues that we see. And that benefits us all in Palm Beach County to be able to have law enforcement knowing that they can work well with us and vice versa. And also knowing, letting the community know that we're working together to make sure we're able to solve crime and prosecute successfully crime that's occurring in our community.
Now let's go beyond relationships with law enforcement to relationships with the schools or community organizations. Mm-hmm. Where do you see that role in cooperation with your office in helping fight and even prevent crime?
Yeah, we regularly, prosecutors from our juvenile unit have gone out to school sites when invited and asked to participate in everything from career days so that we can inspire the next generation, but also letting them know, you know, some of the things that you see on TikTok and, you know, social media encouraging you to do these things, they're not good, and they could, you know, you could wind up being in trouble. So we believe also that it is a responsibility to step outside the four walls of the state attorney's office, to engage with our seniors, to engage with our youth, to engage with the community so that we can prevent crime before it happens and also educate the public on what to do if they are a victim or a witness to a criminal episode.
Can public sentiment or public interaction with your office help change your perception of crime and crime fighting? Well,
I will tell you this. It's really important that we stick to the law and the evidence when we make decisions. Are there folks who, you know, may want to share information with us about a certain crime in their community or an uptick in crime or something that they might want us to know? Absolutely. But when it comes to making decisions about what we're doing on a case and how a case should be resolved and how charges should be filed, that is a decision that has to be based solely on the law, the facts, you know, not politics, not personal feelings. None of those motivations can come into that decision, and we're very clear on that.
All right, now we have to get just a little bit personal, and that is, your November election, as you alluded to at the beginning, it made some history.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much time you have to reflect on that, but have you thought at all about your advice to women, to minorities, to aspire to leadership roles like the one that you now have?
Yeah, I think my advice would be never stop dreaming. All things are possible. And I'm so honored and humbled that the community chose me. And I say that because it's not just about me. It also demonstrates the strength of our office because Palm Beach County voters elected someone running from within the office to become the next state attorney. And so that tells me that they know that the work that we do is stellar. You know, they know that we operate with integrity and with excellence, and that is exactly the impression that I want to continue leaving with the people of Palm Beach County as I advance through the rest of my term.
Well, we want to wish you every success in the years ahead for you. State Attorney Alexcia Cox from Palm Beach County, thanks for joining us for On the Record.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back. Thank you for making us part of your morning today. As always, we encourage you to be part of our discussion. That's each and every Sunday. We're always right here at 10 a.m. Until the next time, you can watch this morning's On the Record program and every episode on our website, WPBF.com, and on our free WPBF 25 news app. Matter of Fact with Soledad O'Brien is next. Hope you have a great Sunday. We'll see you next week.